Hey guys, CreamCrazy here, and it's a Sunday. Way, I'm back here. And you know this is obviously time for the rant. But of course, I've got to get a few little things out of the way before I reach that. Because as you know, I've got a lot of time on my hands with these things now. First off, I want to apologise for the basically in the news video coming, or not coming at all. I did have it done, but the internet, the problems we've had here recently have fucked it up completely, and it didn't upload properly. I couldn't get the video uploaded in the last couple of days because those problems kept persisting, and that meant all the news stories became outdated as new ones came in, and I had to basically bin the lot because they weren't. Everyone would have already known about them, and I decided to postpone the return till next week. So, hope you're happy with that. In the news will be here next week, hook or by crook. Although I will tell you that I'll be tired after next Wednesday because I've got a politics resit on that exact same day. So basically I'm going to be quite tired when I do it, and let's hope the news stories are good enough to sum up everything properly. The second piece of great news, really, well, no, this is the first bit of great news. That was not really good news, but it is returning anyway. I got a £50 Amazon voucher from my godparents, and I decided to basically go completely mental. I bought some music, which is coming in the week. I got a Dreamcast game, which I've wanted to play for years in, but I also got a wrestling DVD. I didn't leave any wrestling things on. I tried to thought, what could I buy? And I found something that I've wanted for so long, and I'm really happy I got it. Vengeance 2001 and Survivor Series 2001 tagged classics. Yeah, I got this thing brand new. I can't believe because the thing is, you see a lot of the tag classics, but you hardly ever see this one in stock. Ever. Because it's so effing popular. These two events are, based on their cards alone, worth purchasing separately, but that's a lot of money, of course. I have seen both of these separate in Kex, but time to buy them was never there. And you know what? I usually see this on sale in places online or in stores for £19.99, 20 quid, 25 quid, and Amazon's free delivery price was £18.99. Do you know how much I got this for? £6.99 brand new. £6.99. This is still in its package wrapping. £6.99. This is a fucking bargain for two epic pay-per-views here. I'm so happy that I got this for £6.99. That is amazing. And I haven't done any form of product review, but you know what? I'm going to watch one of these tonight. I don't know which. I'm probably going to watch Survivor Series first, because then it goes into this one. Because I haven't seen both of these events in their entirety. I've seen the promos for the main events of both. But I know, of course, the result of the Survivor Series 6-man and 8-man... It's about a 10-man main event. I know who wins it because I know how everything turned out, but I don't know how it was won. So let's see. I'm going to look forward to watching this. I'm loving this. But now, after 3.5 minutes of random news and random unboxing segment, we know now we can get onto the video at hand. The reason why I'm here doing this rant for you. And this is... I was going to do listen here guys, if you watched my Wrestling Rant Awards show, I was going to do a music in wrestling genre video, and after looking back at my other video that I did on it, I thought, okay, I could do it, but I then realised it's not topical enough, because you guys in the wrestling world love to see and hear things that are primarily up to date, and something that we all could discuss and debate, right? It's why I did Money in the Bank the week before, because it actually made sense knowing Daniel Bryan's current situation. This one, if you haven't read the title already, or just kind of completely forgotten what the hell I'm on about, Raw has done not very good ratings recently. We've seen them go into 3.0s, 2.9s in the last month, and it's getting people sizably worried and concerned, and getting me sizably worried and concerned at the same time. And I thought, there has to be something WWE can do to improve their ratings. And after watching Raw this past week, I felt I had legitimacy to say, yeah, I know what they could do. And I got it right here. 10 Reasons is back. Yep, another 10 Reasons video. 10 reasons how Raw can improve its ratings. Now, grammatically, that sentence is wrong, but it makes more sense than you might possibly think. Now, you lot may have different reasons and ideas for how WWE can improve Raw. I know there are some people out there saying, turn it back to TV14, bring back the blood, bring back the Attitude Era, but no, I'm not going to do anything like that. I looked at Raw this past week, looking back on it, thinking, here's what can happen. And I then looked actually back at the whole year to get some idea. So I know I've just wasted through 5.5 minutes of your time, and I need to get on with this, so let's do it. First up, number 10, have the comedic relief material at a minimum, because when people always make fun of wrestling from the outside, people who aren't big fans, who basically just love rubbing us up the wrong way, as you may know, and my friends have a huge pleasure in making me get pissed off and having to defend wrestling like I do. They always say that it's full of stupid things, and the comedic material is one of them. Now, I have to admit, it's the stupid gimmicks that make the comedic stuff happen. And I know on Raw you may say to me, oh Fred, oh CC, oh CreamCrazy, whatever your name is, there isn't much comedic material on Raw. Well, sure there's Santino. Sure, there's now the Funkasaurus in Brodus Clay. To be honest, I have no idea which brand he's on, but people could laugh at that and go, ha ha ha, wrestling's shit. It's happened. And I feel, though, that isn't the epitome, because the comedic material is the stuff that isn't intense promo building work. It's the stuff that is basically for the kids go, yeah, we can take a small break, relax from the intensity for a minute, and just unwind in an escapist way. Well, no. Because the epiphany of this comedic material was based last week in Ricardo Rodriguez singing with R-Truth in the ring. Now, I don't want that. I don't want that. You know why I don't want that? It's because it's not what I want to watch a program to see. Comedic material, Santino at least is fucking hilarious. And you can take him slightly seriously sometimes, because everybody acts like that in some way. And you always know someone who's a complete ridiculous guy who will just do what Santino does. So, keep Santino on screen. He's actually got a place for himself now as SmackDown assistant GM. But apart from that, if people want to take wrestling seriously and me to actually not facepalm and switch the channel, take comedic material off. Keep it one backstage segment a week. Don't put it out there live promoing, because you could tell Ricardo Rodriguez was fucking shitting himself. I could tell because his mic work was so nervous. So much pauses and awkwardness, you know? Just get rid of it, I'd say. Number 9. Do more backstage brawls. Because that's the one thing that I find with modern day professional wrestling, especially in WWE, is a lot of it is too regulated for its own self. Even the most barbaric no DQ matches can be dwelled on, but the fact that they are not, basically they can't just go anywhere they want to and beat the crap out of each other. You hardly see that. You hardly get to see unmitigated hatred to the point where they will go into the backstage area away from the people and literally do whatever the hell they want to get away from the scrutiny of the public watching a wrestling match. And Kane and John Cena's brawl last week made me smile from ear to ear. I loved it because this shows originality and original promo building, that feud building that you need to basically make sure that you can't just do it all in the ring all the time. You can't just have a rivalry build in the ring. That wrestling history has shown that never happens. You don't have a feud always solely done in the ring. No, you don't have that. No, never. Never in a million years. You hardly ever see it happen. And backstage effects, interferences, stuff that you can get involved in without having to watch a match, you know? And Backstage Brawls did it. Backstage Brawls, going backstage and beating someone up where you know you are not going to get punished unless security guys come back in there and stop you. It adds tension. And if the feuds are as samey as each other with a few little backstage bits in the general manager's office, a few promos in the ring, and a match, it's not going to build anything. You don't get anything to really tune in next week for. Will he have recovered from it? Because the other problem with this is that you can have someone get beaten up, but they'll still appear later on in the night, and your suspension of disbelief goes. Why? Example being Kane chokeslammed Zack Ryder off the side of a ledge onto wooden pallet boards with force at the end of last week's Raw. He won't appear on next week's Raw, but we do have that suspicion. Will he appear next week? How is Zack Ryder doing? And Backstage Brawls help it. Backstage Brawls help advance things, and that's important. Don't believe me? Look at the past of Backstage Brawls. Even in the Attitude Era, you could see Backstage Brawls pushed almost every feud to something. And then when the big payoff in the ring finally happened, we were fucking interested. So, if it works, if it worked 10 years ago, work it now. It makes sense, right? Number 8. Promote next week's Raw. Simple. This is a simple thing that every creative guy in the back should understand. You promote Raw, because it seems like every week they make, one match for people to get interested in, and then they leave everything on a cliffhanger at the end of each week's show. You don't know what's going to happen next week. Sure, that'll entice some people, but when you don't promote next week, you don't say... The fact is, they promote SmackDown more than they do Raw on Raw. They promote saying, there's a match on SmackDown this week between Big Show and Daniel Bryan. They make it in a Raw ring. Undermines the legitimacy of SmackDown. They don't really give you... In fact, they don't even promote Raw on SmackDown much, which is annoying, because you're trying to get people interested. There's a long time between a Monday and a Monday. You've got to get people excited for it. And you can't just make one match and say, come back for this one match without knowing what else is going to happen. We used to at least know 2 or 3 matches and then a confrontation we knew was going to be big, and you hyped it up to get people interested. Nowadays, everything's written on the fly to the point where, there's absolutely nothing. You don't get hype about a show. You don't get anything to basically get excited about on the show anymore. And that's what makes Raw so hard. Because you can't watch Raw without feeling... They're just piecing it all together now, aren't they? And because they haven't promoted the next week's show enough. That's why they're getting low ratings. It could be done. They could just promote every week, promote it and say, come back next week because we've got this match. But then go to the main event and leave it on a cliffhanger. Promote Raw for next week, then do a cliffhanger to end on and say, ooh, is this going to be resolved next week? It hasn't been hyped and promoted yet, but it could. And that's great use of making the audience feel they need to do this. And that's something they've just completely lost track on in the last couple of years. Number 7. Stop sidelining the build of feuds for one-off shows that don't amount to anything like the Slammies, or the Draft Show, or the King of the Ring tournament, or anything. Because if you remember, the Slammy Awards this past year was the go-home show to a pay-per-view. Yeah. And the fact is, I can say the most thing for 3-hour shows. You can fit as much into 2 hours as you can 3. The draft shows in the brand extension in 2002 and the one in 2004. They are prime fucking examples of putting a stacked card on a 2-hour show. And you had more talent then. So it could, a 3-hour show then would have actually meant something. Now, we had to put a 3-hour show on for one special event that sidetracks all feud building. The Slammy Awards, sure, have hyped and made some big matches. For Shawn Michaels calling out The Undertaker, that's about it. It didn't do anything. King of the Ring, what's that do? You could stretch it out over a few months and make it mean something. Draft show, 2 hours is fine. Because you don't need to make matches like that. The best thing about the 2004 draft, ladies and gentlemen, was the guys drafted names, and then with their newly drafted names, they made matches on the night to showcase their new acquisitions. They didn't need to have a load of matches to get draft picks. And you didn't need a 3-hour show to do it. They still managed to fit 4 or 5 matches in. It can be done. You can have a gimmick. You can have a Raw Roulette night and still make it last 2 hours. You don't need it to last 3. The Power to the People Raw was a complete failure. You can't do a 3-hour Raw where voting happens or it fucks up to begin with. And I think I've always thought 3-hour shows are stupid. Because you then hyper, like, the one for The Rock's birthday, for example, was a 3-hour show. And I thought, come on! He doesn't even make a fucking appearance, and you hype it up as his big night. Come on. That is a huge issue. 3-hour shows are good for something useful. Fuck it. I would have stuck a 3-hour Raw near the start of the year. About a week ago, maybe. This past week, I would have loved to see Royal Rumble qualification matches. A whole 3-hour Raw dedicated to Royal Rumble qualification. That would have been something useful, because then guys can lose, get pissed off, go to SmackDown on the Friday, and then say, look, I got screwed last week. I want another chance to get in the Rumble. Get more matches to qualify. That don't even happen no more. So, 3-hour shows have nothing to offer but just be filler in the schedule. This needs to be changed. And I think we all can agree on that. You can fit as much as you can into a 2-hour show. You don't need 3 hours. You don't need one-off shows with gimmicks attached to them. That's what we have the fucking gimmick pay-per-views for. Number 6. Build towards a pay-per-view every time you can. Because we can see when you haven't. Because in this year, we have seen shoddy build towards pay-per-views. In fact, people were complaining this past week that the Royal Rumble was not even hyped. It was hyped. I can say that Sheamus, Wade Barrett, Jinder Mahal saying they got told that they're going to be in the Rumble this week. We found, of course, we known that Ziggler and Punk building towards their Rumble match, but that, to be honest, wasn't even built much either. It was built, but not much at all. And there's an issue. Because I agree. They don't build to their pay-per-views. They don't hype up saying, this guy's in the face of the pay-per-view in a few weeks. There's nothing really to get us excited about. You should build to a pay-per-view every single minute. The minute a pay-per-view ends, you go on to the next one, you build it. Simple. The pay-per-views are what we pay for. You're watching free TV, okay? The pay-per-views are what we pay money to see, okay? You don't build up to the pay-per-view, we're not getting our money's worth. Pay-per-views need to be something different. They need to have the aura around them that is something special coming in from this. And if you don't do that, you're screwed. Because you look at some of these pay-per-views that have been built, Hell in a Cell, and they had 2 weeks of build. It showed that in 2 weeks, you cannot build squat. That's why there is a month between one pay-per-view and the next. Sometimes 5 weeks. Sometimes in the case of WrestleMania, even 6. From mid-February until early April, that's 6 weeks of build. And you start building from WrestleMania at the Rumble onwards. And on Raw, it's what Raw is. You build towards the pay-per-view, but if you don't advertise and hype the pay-per-view enough, then the pay-per-view isn't worth anything to us. And it's annoying. When we're we're watching the show knowing we're going to get a pay-per-view at the end of the month. If you haven't hyped the pay-per-view and you just make things Raw exclusively, and then when the pay-per-view doesn't have anything special to go by, it's worthless. Nothing comes of anything from it. It's not good. Now, this next point, I think, is out of Raw's hands. Number 5. Cut down on the amount of ad breaks. Because there's one thing that annoys me about watching Monday Night Raw. It's the ad breaks. Simply because the American television system, to pump money through, has to have, in the space of a half an hour, 3 ad breaks. 3 ad breaks. And I know this if you watch The Simpsons. Fuck it, if you watch any American program over here. Usually, at the 8-minute mark, an ad break. Then, at about, 15, 20 minutes, ad break. Then you get the last bit of the show. Raw, this all depends on whether a segment lasts long enough. A promo segment could last, at the start of the show, 20 minutes. That's fine. Or maybe even 15, 10, ad break. Then a small match that lasts 2 or 3 minutes. A small hype segment, which lasts about half a minute. Then another ad break. Then another backstage segment. Then another backstage segment. Then a commentator hype video. Then an ad break. Then another short match. Then another. It's the same old crap for 2 hours. It's the same thing. And the fact is, because the British feed is live, if our ad breaks are quite long, they're not really short and sweet like the American ones are. I've watched feeds online. They are very short, very quick, and to the point. They fill a lot of it in. And I wait I sometimes have waited for 4 minutes while the Raw graphic is on my screen with Sky Sports logo underneath it, and I'm waiting for Raw to come back on, but it hasn't because the ad breaks are still going on. And if you want to fill more time, the ad breaks amount needs to be cut. Because you say you're having a hard time fitting stuff in. No shit. Because you even have to cut ad breaks in the middle of matches. Ad breaks are going to disrupt the flow of your show when you have to put so many of them in a small time frame. It's annoying. Think about it for a second. You American viewers out there, I know I've got a few. What do you think? Do you think the ad breaks, there are too many of them? Do you think it's disrupting your viewing of Raw? Have they done it inappropriate times? Because to me, I feel after a couple of backstage segments and interview spots, I could see a nice 5-minute match, 6-minute match if given the time. I don't need an ad break. I don't need it. Because even while watching SmackDown, I get the same problem. Even though it's taped, you get a few promo backstage bits, an in-ring's talking part, in-ring vignette, then another ad break. Nothing. It's just, it's not giving before each ad break something you give a crap about. It's stupid. The ad break's cut in and it's just not right. And I'm going to stop that one because I could go on about this all night. Number 4, start the night hyping the matches and don't have one match and build the night around it. Because as you know, last couple of weeks, Ziggler, Punk, or Swagger Punk, they've said, this is our main match of the night. They build it up at the start of the show, or later on in the show when they haven't, and they've had a pay-per-view, a talking microphone promo segment first. They don't even hype the match. And I remember when I grew, I mean, sure, for small problems, small things that happen, you get, at the start of the show, you go, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Monday Night Raw. Tonight, we got this match. But that's not all. We got this match. And also, a confrontation that will unbelievably explosive. Live tonight on Monday Night Raw. And then we find a match. Then we have a match, or maybe the segment afterwards. We don't get that anymore. I remember at the start of the New Year's Raw, we had Ziggler Punk, and it was promoted before the intro video. Like it was nothing. And then we go straight into this Kane Cena crap. And the fact is, it started off every single night like this, where we don't get to hype the night up. Then they make this 6-man tag match, which is actually the main event. Where does that come in? Where does last week's 6-man tag main event come in? Nowhere. Because it was stupid to not hype the night around the one match you gave a crap about promoting beforehand. You build the night around the biggest match, and then you've got a couple of other matches you made the week before. This built in with promoting the next week's Raw that I pointed out earlier. This is fundamental. You promote next week by making some matches for next week. You don't keep making matches on the night. Because you do that for pay-per-views, and it obviously limits things. So don't do the same on Raw. You build a match by saying, look, okay, you guys are fighting long enough. I'm going to have Kane versus Zack Ryder next week. John Cena's banned from ringside. Something like that. And say, or maybe next week we could say John Cena tags with the Big Show to take on Mark Henry and Kane because you guys need to get something done. Something like that. Make it look like you give a crap about building your show for next week. And this is a fundamental part. Hyping around all kinds of matches makes you feel this card is stacked. That the creative team they've actually done a job they need to do. And if they don't, they are screwed. They don't know what they're doing. They're making matches on the fly as the night goes on. And that's just annoying, because then we hear something we don't want, and we don't get anything to hype ourselves about. Because the match we get, oh, this coming next week. Oh, wait, it's already happened. We're just going to see a repeat next week. Where does the madness end, eh, folks? Number 3. Balance the amount of segments, promos, and vignettes with matches to create a better, more well-rounded show. Now, this is one of the biggest criticisms WWE has had in the last couple of years. We've seen WWE go from, 60-40 between matches and promos to 80-20, in my opinion. Because most of Monday Night Raw is promo material, is vignettes, is interviews, and a tiny amount of it is matches. There's normally one match in the entire night which lasts longer than 10 minutes. And the rest of them, barely even 5. I looked at the cards for the last two Raws. Most of them, apart from the Punk matches, the Punk matches were above 10 minutes. The 6-man tag match was 8 minutes. The rest were about 3 to 2 to 1. There were hardly anything. And the rest of it was vignette, advertising, and promo material. No, that should not be. You have a 2-hour show to fill. Okay, take out ad breaks. To then realise you've got about an hour and a half, maybe an hour and a half's worth of programming to fill. And you can't just stick it all with promos, because promos and backstage segments aren't everything, you know. You have to put some matches on, and you can't make them worthless by putting them on for a couple of minutes. Sure, people think that's a great thing, that you've got one big match that lasts a while, but to keep people interested, you need the matches on. I know that some people out there want more matches than promos. I know that there are people out there. I want more matches at the moment, because growing up I was more interested in the promos. If I went back nearly 10 years now, 9 years ago, I would be interested in the promos. I wouldn't give a crap. But now the matches are what I'm there to watch. Some cleanly executed, great wrestling matches. And on the weekly TV show, we want to see glimpses of what a pay-per-view can offer us. But we don't see that either. And I think if it was 50-50, if you saw a combination of promos and matches and an equal representation, we might be interested in keeping with Raw. Because we know SmackDown gives us more matches than promos. We know that that's one of the reasons why people love SmackDown more than Raw a lot of the time. I know Raw is the entertainment capital of WWE, and they are obviously building every feud they can with the promo side. But we need to balance it out for the fairness of all of us. Number 2, that leads off into the next point. Put on longer matches. Because it's true. Raw, I remember that Shawn Michaels and John Cena put on an hour-long match in London. I was at the SmackDown the night before. I was gutted. Not the night before, the night after. I was gutted not seeing that match live. But the fact is, if they can put a long match on. I remember even at the start of a show in January 2005, wasn't it? Yes. When Shelton Benjamin and Shawn Michaels... No, it was 2006, I think. I can't even remember. It's one of the 2 years. And they had a great 15 to 20 minute match to kick off the night. And that was one of the best matches I've seen on Raw ever. And it ended, of course, with Shawn Michaels super kicking Shelton Benjamin in midair. A moment I have never forgotten. Not all matches had to be 5 minutes, less than that, because you have to fill it all with promo building material. There is a lot of great wrestling talent in your company, because you give them more time to promote their charisma rather than what we want to see, which is their in-ring ability. If you give them a couple of minutes to show it, it's not gonna build them any confidence with what they can do. Give them an opportunity to do it. Pay-per-view has no opportunities for them, because only the big main eventers make it on pay-per-view, and a couple of jobbers get squished. And Superstars gets no viewers. NXT is full of crap. Give these people in the mid-card some actual wrestling time. Which is why many people... This is how I can see why Bruno Sammartino is pissed off with where wrestling's come. Because he likes a lot of wrestling. He doesn't like the showbiz side of promo skills. Even that's actually... You know what? The influence of WWE doing this, and the press conferences from boxing even, which are completely separate. It's all similar. It's now going into UFC. So it's something which we have to deal with. But if you want to get the audience to care about matches, actually, fuck it. There's a prime example of this, right? Going to a TV show, a TV taping of Raw or SmackDown, the kids are bored off their asses when matches are taking place. Why? Because they don't get the ad breaks. They see everything and they're bored off their asses. Because they're more interested in the promo material, because that's what's being broadcast. If you want people to give a crap about the matches, put matches on. and put them on for longer so we can get invested and have a more of a dramatic sense of what these guys actually do for a living. Because these guys, these wrestlers, they don't speak on the microphone all the time. They get in that ring, and that's where they make their money. And if we can't be shown through long matches that they do that, then what's the point of calling it wrestling? We might as well calling it Big Muscled Men Talk Show. It doesn't make sense. And Raw is going in that direction. Points 2 and 3 combined together. We need to stop the promo-filled Raw. And the moment that happens, we'll be in a good position. And guys, based on that, you'd be thinking this is my number one. Because you guys, I feel this is a point where you may tell me this is not a worthy number one. Because I've done 10 Reasons videos before. And I feel that the number one is never as good in argument as the ones before it. But this one point makes a shitload of sense. My number one reason of how Raw can improve its ratings, the one thing I believe they can do, change its time slot. Let you digest that for a second. Changing its time slot. How easy is it to know your demographic? You're in a PG product, right? Most of the audiences, about what? 40 to 50%, maybe 60%. Women and children, okay? That's your main core demographic that you want to appeal to. Raw in America is on 9 o'clock Eastern Time. The technical watershed, if you think about it. Now, for a young child getting into wrestling, they will say to you, it's on too late, you've got to go to bed. We haven't got a TVR, we haven't got Sky Plus, we're going to have to not watch it this week. And the kid will then miss the repeat because it's still on too late, or it's on in the day when they're at school. You're losing a core audience there. I know it's not the audience many wrestling fans want to admit there is, but look at it, that's what modern day wrestling is. Building up an audience for the future, isn't it? And if Raw is at a time where they can't watch it, you're losing core viewing figures. You're losing an audience. You are losing a fundamental part of your audience just because of a time slot. And it's even worse for foreign fans, especially here in the United Kingdom. Because we have to stay up at 2 o'clock in the morning to watch Monday Night Raw. And that is bullshit. If you put it on earlier in America, we get it earlier over here. And the fact is, it's not as violent as it used to be. Sure, it is still people fighting. And the fact is, I still see pay-per-view events with 15 certificates, even though I know their audience is nowhere near that yet. And this is why I look at wrestling and think this is a fundamental change. Because I've been watching wrestling now for nearly 10 years. And when I grew up, I watched SmackDown at any possible time I could. Mostly 10 o'clock on a Saturday morning. It was when cartoons became too childish, wrestling became my morning news. And it was the best thing to wake up on a weekend for. Even Monday Night Raw, when I finally discovered what time it was on. 9 o'clock on a Thursday night. Now, for some, that is still quite late. I had to watch it in my own time, so my dad and my mum didn't know I was watching wrestling at that time of night. Now that I understood, mate, this is how the people in America do it. 9 till 11, it works. But I now think, no, it's not. It's not good enough. Because these wrestling fans can't get into the product if they can't watch it. And in the UK, you can't have your kid up with you watching at 2 o'clock in the morning to 4, knowing they've got school the next morning and you've got work. I know some people like Dan Parkin can watch it because their body clock is set. But I thanks to wrestling, my body clock is fucked. I haven't had a good night's sleep in the best couple of years, most of the time, because I'm watching wrestling. And I know you can tell me at the moment, oh, you didn't watch Raw a lot in the last year because you got sick of it. Because I did, because the time slot is so hard to really sit down and watch sometimes. Because I'm too tired. And the audience get phased out knowing that their program that they want to see, that they're really infatuated with, is on too late. People who watch MasterChef, Top Gear, Mock the Week, the news, Emmerdale, Coronation Street, they're on at decent times. Even EastEnders is. In America, whatever shows you have on are at decent times. Earlier than wrestling. And it's because of the negative stigma attached to wrestling that it is very violent that they've given it a 9 o'clock time slot on Raw. And to be honest, if you want to appeal to your demographic, WWE, you've got to be able to give the time slot something different. If you want people to watch, put it on at a time they will actually watch it. It's better. And it's fucking easier. Because I can see you're losing fans. Because people who are older don't like the product you're shipping out. And then they say it's on late anyway. I'd rather be out partying. Or at a friend's having a drink. Or something like that. Because it is on too late for its own good. And it's just not right, you know? That some people can do this, who haven't got a job and haven't got work to do the next day, have an early start, have a late start in the morning, they can go, okay, I can afford to. But your audience can suffer. You've kept the product, even though the product itself has become tamer, you've still kept it in the time slot it's meant to be in. Now, would NCIS be on at 8 o'clock on a Monday? No, I wouldn't see it at 8 o'clock on a Monday. I would rather see Raw early on in America, because it'll benefit me. Because, for example, if Raw was on at, 8 o'clock? I know going to a live show, you have to have it done at a specific time. You know? You've got to have it done at a specific time, I think. And it's just annoying how... Actually, I would say now, going to a live show, I see kids bored of their asses. Not bored of their asses because of the promos as well, but it's because the program is on too late. That they're sitting through it all. They can't keep their attention spans up because they haven't cognitively been prepared for long spells of a TV program. Because when you're growing up, most TV programs last between 15 minutes and half an hour. Hardly any program for kids or upper teenagers at least can go, at least for the teenage market in WWE, it's an hour at least. 2 hours is a big thing to push. It took me a while to get accustomed to a 2 hour long show. And when you've got such a young audience, if it's as late as it is, they are not going to be interested. They're going to be bored. They're going to be tired. And for the sake of your future audience, they're going to get used to it. They're going to widen their eyes a bit. Their body clock's going to connect with it. And they're going to finally say, I'm okay with this. But now, at this moment in time, for the last 2 or 3 years, with such an audience, you may want to think about changing your time slot. Now, I know people out there are going to be yelling at me, saying, you're an absolute arsehole, because this is where wrestling should be. It's not for the young kids. But you know what? We were all young watching wrestling once. Don't tell me you weren't, unless you were a late bloomer. Because I know some people get into wrestling late. Thank God I got into wrestling at 11, 12, 13. Something like that in age range. Yeah, 11 years old I got into this product, roughly. And the fact is, it was a shift in difference for programs of my nature to go from something half an hour in length to 2 hours. It was a major problem, and I had to get used to it. And I did. Look where I am now. And I feel that you say kids don't watch wrestling, but they are the epitome. It went from the kids in the 80s to the Attitude Era. Then we went to the Ruthless Aggression Era, where some kids came in, but they were still experiencing good stuff. Now, we're at a point where the audience is now so old that the WWE fears its audience is going away. And that's exactly what's happening. That's why they're trying to appeal to people. But that's what this video is about. To get them to improve their ratings by getting in an audience of both kinds. And if you can't do that, you're screwed. The Raw could continue to lose ratings. It could. But these 10 reasons, hopefully, sum up my point. Because the time slot is the most important. It may not seem like it. But when you look at the implications it could have, it is significant enough to be the #1 reason of how Raw can improve its ratings. So I'm in here doing my video. Seriously. I knew that was going to happen. And guys, I'm going to end it there. I've just finished. And I'll be making my leave now because bloody hell, I've been doing this for 40 minutes. Ugh. Okay, guys, you can add me on Facebook, and you can search CreamCrazyWR on Skype. Down there in the comment set in the description box, you can comment on anything I've said today. And I know you can, because I know people do. And what else am I going to say? Oh yeah, I'm also accepting Q&A questions. So I'll be doing this video in February. I'm going to stock up as much questions as I possibly can. So there's no January Q&A this month. So wait till next month. Get as many questions as you can in. There's no moderator anymore, though. I'm a bit pissed off about that. So message me. Go on Facebook and message me. Skype and message me. Do it all. Do what you can. And guys, if you've come across my video before, you've never seen me, or you just have watched my videos for so long, but you haven't clicked that button up there. Subscribe button. It's there. You know what to do. Yeah, you can click that thing. And also, congratulations on the British Fist, getting to 1,000 subs, and thank you for shouting me out. I very much appreciate it. Guys, I've been Cream Crazy, you've been people watching. This has been my 10 reasons how Raw can improve its ratings video. I'll be back for In the News on Wednesday, and I've got a great 15 minutes of fame video coming up next week, which should be awesome. This is how the Royal Rumble pay-per-view could be improved, and I'm hoping it doesn't take as long as this video was to do. I'll tell you that for sure. Guys, I'll see you Wednesday. Hope you enjoy your week. Cheers.